What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Mik of Commoner. Thank you so much for being here today. It's great to have you here.
No problem, mate. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. For those viewers watching, Mick and I actually met the one day I was in the Reykjavík in Iceland when we were watching Solstafir. That was a great show, and what are the odds
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
the one day I'm in Iceland for a day long layover is the one day that there's a big metal show happening there?
Well, I was there for a week. Well, that week, I was actually there for 2 weeks, but I was working at the tattoo studio there, and I didn't even know that festival was on until one of the guys at the tattoo studio told me Solstafir were playing. I was like, "You kidding me?" And then when I went there, I found out about the whole long weekend thing, and I just ended up going every night.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool.
it was I didn't know that I'd be going to my first European metal show that day, and it was pretty epic. Um, but I was just listening.
Was you on a layover? Was you on a layover? Where was you off to?
Oh, I was on my way to Sweden for the Rolling Stones. So,
All right, okay.
yep. So
Yeah.
there was plenty of metal going from Iceland to Sweden as well. It was probably the most metal 4 days of my life. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was. I think I don't know. I suppose after the pandemic, everyone's buzzing about it again, and there seems to be a lot of shows.
first time I left New York in almost 3 years. So, but I was just listening to the EP you sent me from Commoner, which is titled One. This is really awesome. When I listened to this, I would immediately thought of bands like High on Fire. It reminded me a little bit of Neurosis in a way. It really had like a raw, aggressive entity to it. What, who are you would say are
Cheers, mate.
Commoners like big influences in terms of your songwriting and your playing?
That's a tough one. I mean, where do you start? Well, I think a lot of well, me and Simon, and Matt, and Alex, the drummer, he's the kind of young boy in the crowd. But the other three of us, we come from a kind of punk hardcore background, I suppose. But when it comes to, we've always wanted to do like a kind of heavy band, and then well, me and Matt and Simon have been talking about it for many years, and then I suppose after the pandemic, we decided to get it together. But I mean, we've been listening to all sorts. I suppose. I mean, some of the first, I'd say, heavy stuff that I've been listening to. I mean, even when I was into punk hardcore, I was listening to a lot of metal. But the stuff the commoner stuff that we do, I don't know. It could range from anything from like I don't know, St. Vitus to Electric Wizard. Some of the stuff's definitely, you know, Cathedral is something we've listened to. I listened to them a lot. I mean, we all went to Desert Fest together this year. I mean, yeah, there's Simon's really into bands like Pagan Altar. Um, Matt's very into his kind of black metal. So yeah, there's a big range of sort of music that we all kind of listen to, you know.
You went to Desert.
And it's not all just metal either, you know. It's kind of we listen to a lot of folk. I listen to a lot of folk music, and I still listen to loads of punk. I'm not that keen on playing punk anymore because I just can't, I'd rather learn something with just an extra riff now,
Yeah.
the same old three chord stuff. But
You went to
yeah, I mean, it's just this. Sorry, mate, go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna ask. You went to Desert Fest this year in New York?
No, the one in London. Yeah,
Oh,
we went to the one in London, in Camden. Yeah, which was pretty much the same lineup, I think.
okay.
Give or take a few bands. Yeah, we were there for the weekend. Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was really good.
yeah. That was
I
a
mean, it's just there's kind of too many bands to choose from. You're running. We were running around Camden like freaking headless chickens, you know,
yeah. I
trying
was
to catch all the bands you want to see.
I was getting stoned just looking at that lineup. Um, but you mentioned when we were talking before that you were in like a lot of punk bands as well, and when you formed Commoner, was this like a completely new beginning, a completely new style, and a completely new idea, or did it almost feel like it was bringing your punk background to a brand new project?
No, not really. I mean, we didn't. I mean, we've literally only been, what is it, August now? We pretty much started the project pretty much to the month about a year ago. I think the first practice we had was kind of last September, and we wanted to do something heavy. We weren't, we didn't want to play, we didn't want to do anything hardcore or punk, even though there's probably elements of that in it. We just wanted to play some heavy. I mean, I had a few riffs on the go. Matt did some, and we just jammed, really. Do you know what I mean? And we aimed to do something that we hadn't done before. I mean, Simon still plays in Left 4 Dead, which is a kind of, really, long running UK punk act. You know what I mean? And they're still gigging, and they do really well. But we made a sort of, we've wanted to do a heavy band for a long time, and Commoner was the kind of result, So and yeah, the jams went really well. They were kind of, I mean, at first it was just me, Simon, and Matt, and then just sort of out of the blue, Alex landed on our lap, and he's a killer drummer, and he's enthusiastic as well and young. He's got the energy. Something that like old punk rockers don't have anymore. But yeah, it's just worked out as it's worked out. And I mean, we didn't sort of think, yeah, we're gonna, we're heavy metal, it's just, we just wanted to make some riffs and just see where they went, and kind of the album's the result.
Yeah. How has the underground in where you're based out of in the UK, like really affected, is there like a real good underground community for the style that you play? Because in the UK everybody thinks it's metalcore, like every band sounds like Bullet for My Valentine now in a way. And I was just wondering, in terms of your style, how the underground has really been cultivating over the years.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different subgenres now, and I don't know. I can't keep track of all the different names for it. But I mean, as far as sort of, I suppose doom metal, which is kind of, I suppose, what we do, with a bit of sort of faster metal thrown in, or whatever. I mean, I don't even really know how to genre we're in, but there's a lot of good bands. There's a lot of good underground bands. I live in Norwich at the moment. Simon lives in London. I'm from London originally, but I've lived in Norwich for like 16 years now, which is about 2 hours away. It's like East England. There's a really good scene here. You get a lot of bands traveling through here, and I've seen High on Fire played here a few years ago, pre-pandemic. It's funny, people missed it during the pandemic. There was a long gap where there was nothing going on. And the same in the States as well, I suppose. And since everything's opened up again, there seems to be a really enthusiastic crowd, a lot of gigs now, and it's not even necessarily. I mean, I take my son to gigs. He's very much into his kind of, his kind of grungy hardcore, whatever you want to call it. A lot of young kids are doing sort of punk rock now, and even though they're packed out, so it just seems like we're on the cusp of a sort of a sort of resurgence of a lot of sort of. Especially of the doom metal scene, I think it's getting. I mean, Desert Fest was a classic example of that. I mean, it was packed. All the gigs were pretty packed, and they had 5 venues all over Camden. There was bands playing for 3 nights, and pretty much every venue I went to, even the smaller ones, were full of people. I think the scene's pretty much thriving, and hopefully it will continue to do so. There's a good scene. I mean, we've got our first gig in a couple of weeks, and that's in South London.
Wow.
And the people that are doing that, they've been putting on a lot of gigs for sort of heavy bands, as well as punk bands, and they've been going really well. So yeah, it's definitely a bit of fire coming back into it. I think after the pandemic, I think people have missed it. So
yeah, and being the home of Paradise Lost and My Dying Bride, and I feel like the UK has always had like a great doom scene as well that really has had its own legacy.
Yeah. Then I mean, yeah. Funnily enough, I saw Paradise Lost a few months back, and they played Norwich not long ago, and that was a good night actually. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I go to as many gigs as I can go to. I mean, it's kind of, it's not, I don't make it to every single gig that there is, that I can possibly go to, just from sometimes you're just too tired or whatever. But you generally get a good. I mean, Norwich isn't a big place. Do you know what I mean? It's a small town, but it's got a thriving music scene. I mean, London, I think, it's got a much bigger scene because there's obviously a lot more people. But I mean, I'm quite. I get quite impressed sometimes when I go to, even the sort of sort of lesser known metal bands. Or I mean, there's a really good band called the Witches that are about at the moment, and they do a killer show, and a lot of people turn up for them, and they're not even really that well. They're getting more well known now, but
I've heard of them.
well worth checking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned you're playing
Which is with a Y, I think.
Now you mentioned you're playing your first gig very soon. I wish I could be there, but I'm an ocean away. But are you going to be playing the entirety of Once, or are you opening up with Mutant Resistance and ending with N13 in a way? Are you playing this?
I think pretty much that's our set at the moment. I mean, we've definitely got new stuff on the go. I mean, August has been a bit of a sort of. We've had a bit of a break because Matt's moving. I was in Iceland for 2 weeks, Simon's off traveling about, so we're kind of, I think, like, we're all going to get back together at the end of this month, do a jam for the gig, and maybe do a jam as well the day of the gig, and then just play the show, and then I think it's just going to be, we're just going to try our best to sort of promote the new album, play as many gigs as we can, and start writing some new stuff, because I mean, we've got new stuff on the go. There was other stuff that we couldn't sort of get on the album because it wasn't quite or whatever, but the set pretty much consists of everything you've heard on that release. That's pretty much the set for now, anyway.
Yeah, and I look forward to hearing more, because that's definitely what this this album really did for me. It left me wanting more from Commoner. I love the name. I love this whole idea and this sound. What I would like to know is, when I first met you in Reykjavík, you mentioned that you were here for tattooing, and you were doing guest work. Is there a similar creative aspect to tattooing as you do with music as well, or are they two completely separate frame of minds?
Well, they're kind of separate entities, mate. I mean, I've been tattooing for nearly 14 years now, so it's. I mean, you're providing the service, really. You're doing what your client wants. Do you know what I mean? They'll come in with an idea. I mean, you draw stuff up, and you get creative with it, and you're sort of, if they come up with an idea, you do your best to sort of make it better. Like enhance their idea a bit. But with music, no, I mean that's just something I that's because I do that alone. That's just something that I get on with. But I mean, Commoner is definitely a group effort. You know what I mean? I couldn't do. I mean, I might come up with an initial riff or something, but then the other guys throw in ideas. It's a mix. Do you know what I mean? It is a different process. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm lucky to be able to do both. Really, it's I love tattooing, and I like being in bands. You know what I mean? Well, I like being in Commoner that way.
But I always thought that being in a band and being a tattoo artist, they're both like collaborative projects with the art in a way, because you're working with the client and tattooing. You're working.
Well, when it comes to it's kind of. But I mean, the art that I do for Commoner, that's kind of like a bit of a labour of love, because I can sort of. I mean, I've drawn up things, like for the band, like logos and stuff, and then. I show it to them, and they'll say, "Yeah, that's great. Let's use that." I'm like, "Yeah, cool." It's kind of, but that's totally different to tattooing, because tattoo, I mean, there's art on skin is definitely different to just making up your own ideas. Because sometimes, I try and do a lot of creative stuff. Like I have a go at like writing comics and things like that. So it's kind of, I like the process of sort of, but it's definitely a different thing. I mean, tattooing is, for me anyway, it's not. That's how I make a living. I'm lucky enough to make a living out of it. So it's kind of, and like I say, you're providing a service, so you're not totally free to do what you want, because you've got to do what the client wants. Whereas when you're doing a band, or I mean even then you're kind of you're a lot more freer to do what you want. And if I was to compare the two,
Absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today and for such a great conversation, and great to be able to chat with you. You never know, wherever you are in the world, you meet another fellow metalhead and another. Uh,
Yeah, totally, man. That was a good, that was a great, it was good meeting you there, man. That was such a good gig as well because I mean, I've been listening to Solstafir for years, and just the fact that they were playing that night, and that was such a good show, man.
I I bought a
They blew the roof off.
I bought a CD of theirs at a record store without knowing that they were playing that night. I wanted that to be my one souvenir from Reykjavik, a Solstafir CD, and then the odds are that they're playing that one night. That was just fantastic night. Is there just anything?
I mean, the whole festival was incredible. I mean, to be honest with you, that was literally like going to a second Desert Fest. It was because every night I saw one band one or two bands that just blew me away because I'd finished tattooing and I'm thinking, right, who's playing? I'll have a look at the lineup. I mean, one of the bands that were really good was a band called Audun, Audn.
Yeah.
They were kind of like a black metal band. They're fucking amazing live. You know, they were. Yeah, really, really good. And Volcanova, they were really good sort of stoner metal band. I mean, the range of sort of Icelandic metal is just amazing. It literally goes from sort of basic stoner groove metal to all the way to black metal and everything in between. It was a really good festival. That was. I was just amazed that all happened the
Yeah.
week. And a really weird thing, the following week, a fucking volcano went off, and I managed to go and see that as well. I must have picked the best 2 weeks of fucking the year to get there. You know?
Exactly. I was about to bring that up. Like, maybe the Metal Fest had something to do with that. I mean, I think it's too big of a coincidence, but like when I was coming back to America, I had a layover back in Reykjavik again just for a few hours, and right when we were taking off, that volcano started erupting. So like I got out in the nick of time. But thank you so much.
It's funny, there was loads of earthquakes the first week I was there, and I think that was all leading up to the eruption. You know, there was something like 5 or 6 earthquakes, just minor tremors. You know, but yeah, I mean, I got woken up a couple of times just from the bed shaking and stuff. I was like, Jesus, this is like fucking, what the hell is going on? And then a volcano erupted. I mean, and both my boys were over, and we had to hike to go and see it. I've never seen anything like it. It was just. Yeah, I was dead lucky that weekend.
That was incredible. Is there just anything else with Commoner that you would like to promote? As you mentioned, you have your first gig. You want to plug the date and the place that you're playing.
Well, it's September the 3rd. I mean, anyone who's in South London, yeah, come on down. I mean, it's there's 4 other bands. I haven't got I should have got the flyer. I think there's a band called Troy the Band. I mean, it's mostly sort of stoner doom bands playing. I can't remember the name of the other bands. I'm sorry. I should have been a bit more prepared. But yeah, I mean, anyone who wants to come down. September the 3rd, South London, New Cross Inn. That's pretty much all I can say about it, really. I mean, anything else, we're hoping to get CDs out pretty soon, and we'd love to get vinyl out. But I mean, getting anything out on vinyl at the moment, I mean, you're looking at. I mean, everyone I've talked to, you're looking at about a 5-month turnaround. I mean, it's really getting vinyl out is difficult here anyway. I don't know about the States.
It ain't any easier here. It ain't any easier.
Yeah. But we do want to get stuff out on vinyl. But yeah, hopefully we'll get the CDs out pretty soon.
Awesome.
But yeah, you know, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Awesome.
That's what I've got to say for now.
Yeah.
You know, but watch this space. I mean, you know, we're going to be doing some more, as many gigs as we can come the autumn and winter. You know?
Awesome. Well, Mik, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Mik.
Nice one, Alex. Thanks for chatting. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, everybody. Mik of Commoner. Be sure to check out one. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.